Hello, everyone. This podcast will be a bit different in business. All of you readers, business owners, who you have a lot of listeners, who is very entrepreneurial driven, obviously. We're covering my personal opinion on books. I've gotten people asking me before some opinions on which book they should read, and my answer is all of them, but they can't. But I have some that I read, and there are different topics related to business, even motivational, stock investment, and even astrophysics. But mainly the books that I have and I'm going to be referring is going to be towards the topic of business and entrepreneurship. But I will cover it, all of them.
Welcome to the Wings Mobile Detailing Business and Automotive Podcast, the only podcast that will guide you on how to start and grow six-figure companies. As our team expand from one business location to worldwide domination, you will get step-by-step insights from a millennial franchisor and franchise owner with your host, Andre Mezalira.
Welcome back. Thank you so much, guys, for staying tuned. Every Wednesday, as you may know, I do post podcast here, so don't forget to subscribe, whether you are on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or whatever medium you are listening to or platform. So starting off with books, I've studied multiple biography books as well, multiple business owners, multimillionaires, successful people financially speaking, and in other areas as well. When I say successful, I include in other areas of their life. Happiness is part of it. And I found out something that they all have in common, successful people. What do they do? How do they get there? And every time, for all of them, gurus out there, really successful, financially successful people, they have this part in common, which is reading books. And I've personally have read, multiple books before. And when you're first starting to read, you may know how important it is to read, and then you start, and then if you're not used to, and perhaps you don't enjoy it much, and you start reading one day, the other day, you don't see much of a difference in yourself, and you don't credit the power of reading much, especially at the beginning, because you only hear people saying how important it is to read, but you start in the first few weeks and you don't notice much of a difference. I'll tell you guys, the same happened with me. 2 months went by, 3 months, and I would read different books. I would read one complete book, and I wouldn't remember what I read. I don't think anybody can remember everything they read in a book, unless they have a really good photographic memory, like Elon Musk is one of those freaks. But still, guys, and you're not supposed to remember. Reading books, and sometimes you forget what you just read. I mean, you remember, but you can tell the story that you read. But you're not supposed to, but that gets in your mind, and you may think that because you forgot how to say what you just read, you may think that you lost it, so it's not helping you. But this is what helps you. If you read one book and stop, it certainly won't help you. But if you continue reading, repetition is the key on reading, because you're gonna, let's say you choose a book of 3 different categories, or 4, whatever it may be, but you read constantly. You read every day. You're reading, a few pages of books, depending how many pages you can read. If you're a fast reader, if you're a slow reader, it does not matter. But if you read constantly different books, and you forgot on one book, and then you grab another business book, let's say after 1 month, and you grab and you read another business book that is completely different title, but then that's going to add to the book that you read previously. And then you're going to retain more information. It's going to open up your mind. Not open up your mind to remember what you read on your first book, but open up your mind on the content of the books you had read previously. So it's kind of add as you read more. This podcast is going to be a book reviews. My opinion on the 20 books apparently that I have here, that I've put aside, and they're one of my favorite books that I put aside that I wanted to talk about on this podcast. And I definitely recommend. I've read certain books before, which I'm definitely not going to recommend because I personally did not like this particular book, but let me tell you the ones I like. And now, starting off from the beginning, this one is the one I recommend for people starting their own business, who are, perhaps you're just starting now, you don't want to understand how the entrepreneurial life is. It's a little bit more motivational. Now, let me make this very clear. When I say the book is motivational, do not confuse it being unpractical. Because you need, motivational is not just about pumping you. It can motivate you, but motivation is extremely important in success. I'm not gonna go with percentage because I don't play that game. It's 50% that and 50% motivation. Whatever. But it's very important. If you want to set something to do, if you want to set to do something, and you're not motivated to do it, and you don't know how to retain motivation to do that particular thing, you're not gonna go forward. So it's very important. So this book is called The Entrepreneur Roller Coaster. Yes, it's going to motivate the crap out of you, but at the same time, it's going to get you very scared because it's going to tell you the reality of an entrepreneur. It's not fake entrepreneurs, actual real entrepreneurs. When they run a business, they grind. It's not the fancy and nice stuff. It's going to tell you how the ride is. It's a very scary ride. Thrilling, it's scary at the same time. You don't know when you're gonna be up or down. When you're up, you're afraid because the roller coaster is gonna go down. That's reality. That's a real thing in entrepreneurship, guys. I definitely recommend it. Matter of fact, this was one of the first book that I recommend for one of the franchisees that I had. And it was very important. It was very good because it kind of set up the game for the person to know at the beginning what is it like to be an entrepreneur. They're not going to get surprised later on in the game. They're going to see how hard it is. The name of the book, Entrepreneur Roller Coaster. And second, along the way, I started to following Grant Cardone. He's a very big mentor of mine. Matter of fact, I have a podcast that I interviewed him. If you scroll down, you're going to read Grant Cardone there and advice for young entrepreneurs. And I started to follow his stuff. It's about sales. This guy is about a sales guru. He's the best sales guy ever. Grant Cardone. It's Sell or Be Sold. It's another great book if you're dealing with small sales, selling services that cost, perhaps the service costs $1,000, $800 or smaller than that. It doesn't matter, small products. Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone. Very good. Very good. You should read it. Now, after I read this different book that was given to me by a friend, the Spin Selling it's called. And this is also a book of sales. And it's really good. Now, this is a little bit different than Grant Cardone's book. Grant Cardone teaches a lot of small sales, small, short sales. It doesn't take a lot of time. Now, the Spin Selling book, it's a different title. Spin Selling. It's by Neil Rackham. This book is really good if you're selling big stuff. $30,000 deals, $100,000 deals, $500,000 deals. This is very good because it's gonna set the tone it's gonna teach you how to set the tone with a client, and it's not about short sales process. It kind of explains to you how to do that. Big sales, definitely recommend. And the reason it's different than small sales, the big sales than small sales, and I did not know this before until I read this book, was one of the most important thing. And I wrote in the book, I bookmark stuff if I have to ever go back there. I rarely do it, but I just do it just in case. This book taught me that different than Grant Cardone's book, Sell or Be Sold, is that the spin selling, when you're doing a huge deal and you want to follow up with a client, normally for small sales, you kind of want to set the hook with the client to make them like you. You kind of want to tell about the benefits of your product, obviously, but also you want to agree with the client, take all of that into consideration, and make the client on the phone, on the short sale, small sale, you want to make the client happy on the phone and excited, ready to buy your product, and know that he really needs it. Now, the spin selling, the reason it's different for bigger sales is because if you use the same technique, or whatever you can call it, I call it technique, for the bigger sale, and you want to get the client excited on the phone at first about your product, about what you're offering. He may be really excited and ready to buy right then, but he's not going to buy it. He's not going to spend $50,000 or over that in one single phone call. He's going to go home, talk to his wife. He's going to think for 2 days, 3 days. You want to allow him time to think, because you also don't want to push him too much at the beginning, because then he's going to, okay, you know, I want to get out of the deal because I don't want to risk all this money with a pushy guy. So it is different. It is different. And I didn't know that until I read this book. You know, I would only read Grant Cardone's when it comes to selling. But this one's really good. Now, I kept on reading other Grant Cardone's books, so I'm going to go over them. Be Obsessed or Be Average. And it doesn't say as being obsessed. It's not a bad word. It's how to be happily obsessed with success in all areas of your life. Success is all areas, not just financially. And when you get obsessed with all areas of your life that brings you happiness, all the good stuff, then you're working hard for, and I don't like using the word balance, but you're working hard to be obsessed, to really enjoy it. When you were obsessed on something, you really want that thing, you really enjoy it. So you want to be obsessed with everything in your life. With your work, you want to learn how to become obsessed with everything. And a very good book. It's more motivational, but again, important. Another one from Grant Cardone. We got Sell or Be Sold, Be Obsessed or Be Average. Now the 10X Rule. The 10X Rule is more motivational. Be Obsessed or Be Average is not as much. The 10X Rule is I think it's the book that you can start reading if you're a younger entrepreneur. Not younger, if you're just starting out with a motivation, because eventually you want to learn how to bring motivation to yourself. But the 10X Rule is really good because it sets the tone for you to think big. It really does. And why is it important? Oh, I already think big. You know, I don't need a book to motivate me for that. No, it is. No, you need a reason to think big, because you cannot just think big. And then 3 months goes by, and then you start to get your mind accepting average stuff, accepting just being okay with stuff, because shit's gonna go down. It's gonna be hard. And if you're just, you know, oh, I think big and take it, you know, easy like that, and something hard happens in your business, you're not going to have enough purpose to continue thinking big and work for bigger stuff. So the 10X Rule, it teaches you that it's the same amount of work for you to acquire small stuff than for you to acquire big stuff, for you to grow big. It's the same amount of work. You work the same hours, you worry just as much, but it's just about a decision you make. And that book you should read along with the Entrepreneur Roller Coaster at first, and the 10X Rule, definitely recommend. If You're Not First, You're Last is another book of Grant Cardone, and the last one that I read. Worth reading, because if you read these 3 books from Grant Cardone, chances are you're going to want to read another one of his, and that's why I read it. If You're Not First, You're Last. I like it too. I enjoyed that book. I don't have much to say about it. I don't quite remember, but I did read multiple times and listen to it as well. Audiobooks works really well, but it's not as good as actually reading a book. It really gets on your mind when you're reading it. Now, talking about thinking big, guys, this book is one of my favorite autobiography. I think it's an autobiography. It's a biography though. It's one of my favorite biography books. It's the about thinking big. It's the name is Think Big, and you guys might know this guy by Trump. Before none of the political stuff, you know, he wrote this book way before he was a politician and changed completely in that side. But very good book, and he actually talks about setting up your mind to thinking big. You know, it's different than the 10X Rule from Grant Cardone, but it's still worth reading. Business guys, if you want to think big, the title says itself, to set massive goals. Sticking with Trump's book, there's a second one called The Art of the Deal. this book is really good as well. The Art of the Deal. It's kind of gonna give, and Trump is a billionaire real estate guru. He grew a multi-billion-dollar empire there in New York City, among other countries, Dubai. He has buildings everywhere in the United States and out of the country. And he's done deals with big bankers. There's a story of his that back in when the banks were eating everybody alive, all the business owners, he was saved because of his name, the personal brand, the Trump brand, because otherwise the banks during this recession time would have eaten his alive. And because he was nice to the bankers when all these business guys and friends of his was doing really well. So when all of his billionaire not friends, his billionaire people in his when he was their real estate developer and real estate investor, they would all go to the bank guys, the big banks, and just ask them for money, and the banks would loan money to them because the banks needed it. That's what banks do. They need to loan money to really rich guys, and these rich guys would yell at the banker, say, "I want it today," not treat the bankers well, right? And then it was the banker's turn. It was the banker's turn to when the recession hit. The banks goes like a mad dog to get their money, to pay for the bills. And guess who the banks goes after first? The people with money, which were the billionaires, and those who they felt like, because it was a guy, it was an actual banker who would also go after the bills. And it would go after the guys who actually mistreated them. I was like, oh, I'm not gonna take the money from somebody who respected me before, so now I'm gonna go after first one. And Trump was there with all the big bankers, and that's on the book. That's on the book part of the deal. And then he shows how good it is to create good relationships with people around you, even if you don't need them, even if you're above them. You always want to set the tone respectfully, because then it bites back. And then the bankers didn't come after Trump at first, so that saved him as well during the big recession that everybody was losing. So The Art of the Deals is good and tells you kind of how Trump really is. If you're interested, I'm not sure if you guys would be, but how he really is as a guy in a business is completely different than how he portrays himself in the media nowadays. It's completely different. So if you read this book, you're gonna see what type of leader he actually is. Who he actually sits down at the table and listens to everyone's idea. It's definitely not what you see on the media. Guys, let's rush a little bit. Another book in business that I read is The Go-Giver. If you have a desire to help others, but and if you have a desire to help others but expect to be paid with recognition, you're not being charitable. And if you have a desire to help others knowing without expecting anything in return, like I'm saying nothing, no recognition in return, either way, if you're one of these two guys, The Go-Giver, it's called The Go-Giver by Bob Burg and John David. The Go-Giver is really good on that. And there's the Go Sell More. It's another one from the same edition that I read. It's just as good. So those are good. Sticking with the business topic, The Power of Broke from Daymond John. He was the owner of the clothing line. And on this book, The Power of Broke, it explains to you how he does it and what's the right way to do. Like, he started a business. You starting a business with a big, beautiful showroom before you even made the first sale. So there are a lot of business owners, and I said that a lot throughout my podcasts. A lot of business owners out there who start off, let's say, a store with a beautiful showroom, glass doors. Everything looks so nice. And they haven't done business at all. They haven't even done business for a year, and they already start spending money and making everything beautiful. Definitely read this book, because this may save you if you're open-minded. Read this book so you don't fall later on, because like you're just gonna free fall. It's just a matter of time if you're one of those who, and then you're gonna open the showroom of your beautiful store in the grand opening day, and you're gonna realize, oh, where are the clients? Yeah, it's catastrophic. The power of broke is great. Let's see what else we got here. Book for business, I got a bunch. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Very well known book. I'm sure most of you guys have listened about it. I really enjoyed this book about how to win friends and influence people. The title itself says it. I liked it. Another well known book by Napoleon Hill is The Think and Grow Rich. Everybody talks about this book a lot. It's very well known. I think Robert Kiyosaki read this before. Very important gurus. But I personally didn't like this book. I think it was too motivational to me. I like motivational books. The 10x rule, but when there's some practice to it. But I don't know. I didn't like Think and Grow Rich too much. Well, another one that I did like from Jeff Olson is The Slight Edge. If you're not living to your fullest potential, or you're just waiting for fulfillment to just arrive magically, you need to read this book and you know how to work for it. For the actual fulfillment, you have to put in that work and not wait magically for it to happen. The Slight Edge, guys, I really enjoyed this book. And I'm going by order. I'm not sure if you guys know, although The Think and Grow Rich should have been one of the last ones out of this list. But what else we got? The New 1 Minute Manager. That's the title of the book by Spencer Johnson. The New 1 Minute Manager. You can read this book in like 10 minutes. It's very short. For a manager, no, it's good. It's definitely good. Gives you some insights. Now, for all of you who are not immigrants, this book is very nice. And again, guys, I read this months and months ago, but I know what I learned from it. I just don't know what it talked about exactly. By Brian Buffini. It's called The Emigrant Edge. The Emigrant Edge is for those who... You're going to realize that the lack of opportunity is an opportunity of itself. I'm not sure if I wrote this quote myself, whatever, but this is what you learn from this book. How the lack of opportunity of you growing in a place where there's not much opportunity around and it lacks it for you. Then when you get to somewhere where everything is so easy, and you're going to realize how good we have it in America. Bam. The Immigrant Edge is going to show you why immigrants are more tenacious. What makes an immigrant when they get here in the country more tenacious? They go after it, more hungry after the things. They work harder for it, and they don't get as comfortable because they had it bad where they came from. Usually worse, because we're in America. But for real though, the Immigrant Edge is really good and shows you how to create a tenacious mindset, or maybe not how to, because you can go back in time and have a worse day. But part of being tenacious, and it's gonna make you realize how weak you are and your potential, and how awesome it feels to give the best of you. It's more about motivational. It's called Relentless from Tim Grover. Tim Grover was the coach of Michael Jordan. I don't know if it matters, but this book is really great. Tim Grover himself, I always look at the authors who writes the book to make sure they're really, real. Relentless, from good to great to unstoppable. Another book on that. And these are all business related books that I've covered with you guys. And I'm gonna go over the list real quick here when I finish this podcast. Now, I read book in real estate. If you're becoming a real estate agent, I really like this book by Dirk Zeller. Your First Year in Real Estate. Why did I read this book? Because I eventually, a while back, a few years back, I was looking into real estate agent stuff, investing, and Very good book for that, for real estate agent. It's called The Real Estate by Dirk Zeller. It's called Your First Year in Real Estate. Astrophysics, that's my other topic that I read. It's going to be super quick though. I'm going to cover it real quick for you guys if you guys like astrophysics, which is not really on this podcast. But Neil deGrasse Tyson, very good astrophysics. And The Grand Design by Stephen Hawking kind of give you an idea of perception of space-time. It talks about part of dark holes as well. There's a lot on this book that it talks about. Gravity, why does the time pass differently in a more gravitational wave, in a more gravitational pull, comparing to where there's less gravity. Let's say if you go near a dark hole, for example, where the gravity is so intense that the fabric of space itself, it blends. And the fabric of space, the more it blends, the more heavy, massive the planet is, meaning that there's more gravity because there's more weight in the fabric of space. And when the fabric of space gets stretched up, time passes slowly. And it's a theory, but kind of a little bit proven because they've sent satellites before away from planet Earth where there's zero gravity and the clock literally starts ticking slowly. And why is that? It's all physics. And if you guys like it, I'm not going to stay too much on that, although I could go all night talking about it. The books for business, here it is, guys. I do, all of you business owners, have multiple other books that I went through. I just finished now reading the 75 Hard by Andre Mezalira. You should get it. I mean, this is good. I mean, you should get all the books that I talked to you about. 75 Hard is about the 75-day challenge that makes you feel really great. It's a mental toughness. It's not about body, but it is included in there. Definitely something that you guys can read, the 75 Hard. I did read the Gary V book, Crush It, and his other one as well, the thick book that I can't see very well from here. I personally didn't like it much. I love his podcasts, but I don't know, I didn't quite enjoy that Gary V book. But that's me personally, guys. It's a great book. It is a great book. For entrepreneurs, the McDonald's book is good as well. The 1-800 Got Junk. It's another franchisor, business owner of that company. Definitely something I enjoyed reading. And I even read the entire Constitution of the United States, I guess. It's a book as well. Obviously, I recommend, And there's another one that I'm seeing from here. The one book that I did not like at all, it's Influence by Chick-fil-A. I wanted to read a book that I learned from the Chick-fil-A guys, the Chick-fil-A owners, because I really admire their style of business. I really, really do. And I got this book. It's called The Influence, written by, not written by the owner of Chick-fil-A, but inspired by them. But it was just really bad. I did not like how it was written. I forgot the reason why, but it was written. You guys see it. The next one that I'm about to read is another one for stock investing from Warren Buffett. Although I started reading The Intelligent Investor for the stock market. And that's another category of books that I read as well, guys. And if you're in the stock market, I don't know, you can start reading, let's say, Investing in the Stock Market for Dummies. These For Dummies books are really good. And don't get yourself carried away because it says for dummies, because it's good. The Intelligent Investor is a book that Warren Buffett, the rich guy, old guy from Omaha, the billionaire who was once the richest man in the world in stock investing, owner of Berkshire Hathaway. The Intelligent Investor, I read it. It's like a Bible. It's really huge, and I haven't gone past the 10th, 15th page of it. It's way more complicated. The next one I'm gonna read is gonna be the one I'm ordering, but that's it, guys. The importance of reading, I can't can't express enough. There is stories of everyone who's had success before, like real success, not those fake entrepreneurs that you see out there who shows fancy lifestyle and they're really not successful at all. And don't get influenced by them, because the real influencers are usually the ones who work quiet, who've actually grown a real big business, and most of them are gonna say how important it is to read books. Elon Musk read lots of books. He finished the entire encyclopedia by the time he was 10 years old. Yes, I mean, he's that crazy, but Elon Musk is a different level of can't even get near how much he reads. Warren Buffett, he's a billionaire, run multiple businesses, and still reads every single day. So if you blame it on time that you don't have time to read, well, you might as well get used to know that you won't have success, because it's part of it. Reading opens up your mind. It's awesome. All right, guys, thank you very much for listening to this podcast. Stay tuned for more every Wednesday. I will post new ones. I hope you enjoy it. I can go over the list of the books that I went through with you guys, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to write in the description of this podcast instead of me repeating everything, because I tend to do that. So I'm going to avoid. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Subscribe, leave a review, and until next time.